Hi! Usually I post about soap and soap making and my soap business and things like that. Well, today I'm making a face mask because my state is closed down and we're not supposed to go anywhere except essential stuff. So I got this pattern on the internet. I will post the link in the description, and they recommend some quilting fabric, which I have a little bit of, but it's not big enough. So I am using, basically this is a pillowcase, and I have some flannel here and some elastic here. This is just stuff that I've had laying around, but you can get some more guidance on this link, so check it out, and there's different versions as well. First I'm going to cut out the pattern for teenage and woman. So I went ahead and pinned it to this pillowcase, and since it's already double, I'm going to go ahead and cut out this pattern. The link to this does have instructions that are detailed, so I would definitely recommend reading through this first. The right sides are together, so the wrong sides are on the outside, and there's a little bit of extra seam allowance here because this is where we're going to fold over to put the ear loop elastic. And the pattern also has a version for a tie if you don't have elastic, so you could use like a string, or I don't know what you have, something though, to give you a face mask basically. I went ahead and threaded my machine with yellow. This is the closest color I had, which is really kind of mustardy yellow. It's not an exact match, but that's the best I have. I'm using this flannel whale print fabric as the liner, so this one again I'm going to cut out, but this time they say not to have all of the seam allowance on the ear side. So now what I have looks like this for the outside and for the liner, and I'm making the pocket version that you could put a filter inside. So I'm over at my sewing machine, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sew along this curved line, which is going to be the center of the mask that goes over your face. So it should look like that, and then we have to make some little snips along here like this, but don't cut into the actual stitches. So just do that all the way down where we just sewed. So the next thing that you would do is you should really press this, but I'm not going to do it. You need to fold down this seam allowance part, and you need to sew that. It is beginning to look like a mask, and we need to repeat all of that with the liner. So I just did that, and it turned out like okay, I guess. I have a little bit of bunching up here, but you know, this is gonna be on the inside, so I guess that's okay. And I also need to do that on the bottom of both of these, so you can see how they're gonna end up fitting together to become a mask. And let me go ahead and sew over the bottoms real quick. So now I did the bottom, so basically now I'm gonna sew this line to where I'm sewing the two together, and I'm going to sew along the top, and I'm going to sew only one of the sides down But before I do that, I'm gonna actually fold over one side and sew it over just like these. I'm gonna leave it open because this is gonna be a pocket where you can put in something else. So this is unplanned, but I'm gonna actually take out this nose strip that I'm gonna harvest from like a disposable one. And I'm going to try and slide it inside here because I think it would be better if it fits it tight to the nose. So yeah, I didn't plan this when I started this video and it wasn't really in the instructions, so I'm kind of like winging it here, but I'm sliding it through this space to try to get this little nose thing in the center and centered, and then I'll go ahead and lock it in with some stitches. I think that that would be really nice to get that in there, but it's just gonna take a while to just maneuver it in. So you can see where that is in there, where I just kind of slid it in my little seam allowance, my little hem spot there on the liner. And I'm gonna go ahead and just lock it in with some stitches on either side so it doesn't move around. And that was from a used mask, so if you have disposable ones and you used it, like, I guess you may as well harvest that nose thing, the little wire part, the little piece of metal. Now I'm going to sew these parts together, and I'm going to sew along here. So if you're not using one of those little wires that I just used, you shouldn't have any problem, but because I did, I'm going to have to be careful to not sew along the wire, so just be careful of that. It gets a little bit bunched up here, so I'm just trying to go a little careful on the center because there's so much fabric right here. My old grandma machine is not getting through it all. Oh, I think I'm stuck. Oh, here we go. Okay, I just cleared the wire part so I can go back more toward the end. Alright, I just wanted to show that little part since I was going along the wire, but I'll just go ahead and do the bottom. So I am really getting there, and this is probably not the best thing I've ever sewn in my life, but I don't plan on changing my day job, but it will help. So the next thing I have to do is sew over some little spots to accept the elastic. So I'm just going to be sewing over a little spot, but I think instead of threading it through, I think I'm going to go ahead and pin the elastic in place and sew right over it so I don't have to thread it through. So on this side, I'm going to fold it over and I'm going to sew it over the liner. But on this side, when I fold it over, I'm going to do it before the liner because this is my pocket to put extra fabric in if I want extra filtering. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. The amount of elastic that you need is kind of going to depend on how much stretch you have and the exact size of your face. So I just tried it on and tied these off, and I'm going to try to maneuver these knots to be inside of the little loop that I made there. So now that's pretty much it. So now I am pretty much ready for the apocalypse. What do you think?